So here's YouTube. We'll recap what kind of happened yesterday. I wanted to go through this with my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond. YouTube claimed about the election, stories. We will start removing any piece of content uploaded today or any time after that misleads people. Can you bring this up there as an overlay? That misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of the 2020 presidential election in line with our approach towards historical U.S. presidential elections. By the way, a quick YouTube search reveals that it shows us that this is not true, to be clear. So I want to read this quote again, that they will remove any piece of content uploaded today or after that misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of the election. Now, the key there is they say 2020 election.
Yeah.
Because why doesn't it apply to other elections? In other words, the spirit of the law should be, okay, you want to remove fraudulent information.
Yeah.
Well, as of right now, I think we have a montage. There are still many clips up claiming that the 2016 win of President Trump, your president, not president-elect because Jim Prosciutto says so, lost because of fraud in 2016.
Russia hacked the 2016 elections, and they're going to do it again. It's not that the Russians will be back.
Still up.
They haven't left, and they will only get better. Their methods will only grow more sophisticated.
U.S. officials say that they have no reason to believe the Russian cyber attacks will stop. Elaine, the other problem is it is likely that the Russian hacking units hit targets that have yet to show up on U.S. investigators' radar.
If you can get a hashtag trending on Twitter or chum the waters with fake news directed to audiences primed to receive it, or drive journalists to dissect terabytes of email for a scent of impropriety, all tactics used in Russian operations, then you've got a shot at effectively camouflaging your operations in the mind of your target.
If this were Red Dawn, they'd be fighting against the Wolverines. Get the hell out of here, Swayze. They themselves, in perpetuating this narrative, have been doing the bidding for not really so much the Russians, but the Chinese.
Oh, absolutely.
That's also how Swalwell fell into the trap.
I appreciate the cooperativeness.
It is. So that, by the way, so they can push this, which is verifiably false. There has been an investigation. Unlike right now, where there have been suits filed and there hasn't been a full investigation.
Right.
The suits aren't even done. The election, the disputes have not even been resolved. That is resolved. It did not happen. Donald Trump basically was a victim of the greatest witch hunt of modern American history for a phone call. Yep. You may not like it, but. And Bill Barr had to say, and he probably really didn't want to. Something else, while we're talking about this, sure, they still have disinformation up there about the Russian hacking, but YouTube, while they're saying right now they're going to get rid of anyone who even addresses widespread voter fraud, they still have content up on their platform that is bordering on, some of it, is outright illegal. Here you go.
What you do is you light it and you keep the flame about an inch away. Now, if you can see what I'm doing, you slowly rotate it left and right. And then you'll start to see a vapor start to come up, and then you hit it. Keep it lit and hit it and keep rotating it.
We got some hash. We got some Molly.
How to sell
got some
drugs.
shrooms for 60.
What a title.
How do they ship it? Is it, private, or are they doing this? They shipping this shit in FedEx?
We use all three providers, actually.
He went on Shark Tank.
Shipping it, driving it. Whatever it takes to get it here, we get it there.
How to sell drugs on YouTube.
They're not stupid either. They know what's going on. Everybody's doing it right now.
So I'm going to try and order some drugs online, and to do this, I'm going to set up my own Instagram account and Snapchat account.
Oh, like animal cruelty. And yikes.
We'll try and keep this as short as possible. That's the one that I guess YouTube might say is borderline content.
No, that's a copyright strike from Netflix on Cuties.
Yeah, it's a copyright from Cuties. Let's turn because you have little girls in thongs. Apparently, that's not a problem. And it is.
And we blurred it, so it's
gross.
like it wasn't blurred originally.
No, think of it. But we didn't blur the drug dealer guy.
No. Right, exactly.
Though we knew who it was when that same face and blur showed up on Shark Tank saying, "I'm seeking $20 million for a 10% stake in my crack house."
What do you think?
YouTube's not only let these videos obviously flourish regarding the 2016 myths, but they also have allowed many videos that just claim Donald Trump is an illegitimate president, right? You can still find these things right now available on YouTube. And the funny thing is, too, their fact checks about the election, they just redirect to a general government website that says, oh, no, the election's been called, or any claims of voter fraud are in dispute. That's all they do. There's no link to ongoing lawsuits. There's no link to evidence. There's no link to voter rolls. There's no link to the complaints to the file. There's no link right now to the Supreme Court case. You may not like it, but that is relevant. And these disputes are still ongoing.
Well, and I know that there's this fraud kind of thing that they put in there, but why did they use the word errors? If you refer to election errors, like the only way we're going to do that is if there was an error made. Like it's a binary thing. They either did it right or they didn't do it right.
And by the way, because we have some personal info as well on YouTube that we've experienced, but YouTube said they're looking even in further ways to decrease anyone who contradicts the election narrative. Here's another quote. Despite these encouraging results, we recognize there's always more to do. For example, while problematic misinformation represents a fraction of 1% of what's watched on YouTube in the United States, we know we can bring that number down even more. And some videos, while not recommended prominently on YouTube, and yours truly, continue to get high views, sometimes coming from other sites. We're continuing to consider this and other new challenges as we make ongoing improvements. One quick thing, too. Tim Pool reported that YouTube clarified to him. So I don't know if I can necessarily, if I can confirm this. Sure. And have we heard any answer from YouTube at all?
We haven't had a comment yet.
Okay, we haven't had a comment yet. Well, that's always heartening.
It seems to be the common response. Nothing.
Yeah. The two conditions that must be met, according to Tim Pool, is that a video to be removed is they must claim widespread fraud and error and say that it made Trump lose. So you can still say there's evidence maybe of fraud, and you can still say that Trump actually won, but you cannot combine the two. And here's what's crazy. Talk about controlled opposition. I'm not talking about some deep state mind control technique, but when you say, okay, hey, listen, you can say that you think Donald Trump won, okay, but you just can't substantiate it. The opinion is, I think this election was unfair, or I don't think Biden won anyway. They go, okay, well, what makes you think that? Well, I can't tell you that. Why? Because you're a stranger. If someone says, I think Donald Trump won because there are these thousands of votes from addresses that don't exist, thousands of votes from people out of state, thousands of votes from people underage, they're algorithmic, statistical improv banned. So what do you end up with? YouTube ends up with liberals, NBC, ABC, CBS, Universal, Vox, Disney, right? All of these, Turner. And then the conservative on there who just goes, well, I don't care what anybody says. I think Trump won. They go, See, that's all conservatives have because someone like us saying, well, this is why I actually think it was an unfair election, and we point to the actual irregularities, and the court briefings get banned. Isn't that brilliant?
Mm-hmm. The way that they've kind of threaded the needle here to make it impossible to give a truly credible argument at this point going forward, right? Is they've said you can either say Trump won, but don't give the substantiating evidence, to which then anyone can go, if they had evidence, they would have said it.
Exactly.
And then, or you can just say, without saying what the conclusion is, give the evidence, right? Which is to say, oh, these this number of votes was wrong. This number of votes were incorrect ballots, shouldn't have been counted, came in after a deadline, et cetera. But you can't then tie it to the conclusion, which is it's impacted the outcome of the election.
Right.
So now you can just give this, but it's irrelevant. There's no context. Okay, so 5,000 ballots. What do you mean? Well, I can't tell you what I mean by that.
Right.
I can't tell you how it impacts the rules. I can't tell you why it's relevant.
YouTube is trying to cultivate an environment where you can voice an opinion and not substantiate it. What's being banned from YouTube right now, what causes a problem, is statistical, factual, legal substantiation. You can say, I think Donald Trump won, or I think the election's unfair. You just can't provide the sources and evidence, which is great. Wow. That makes perfect sense because the people who've, housed in YouTube studios, the Young Turks, or places like NBC, Vox, where they co-produce shows with them, they don't provide sources. So wonderful for them. They stand no risk to run afoul of something that limits transparency. But these are strange times that we live in, so we cannot talk about widespread voter fraud. If we were to insinuate that may have impacted the election. However, from what I understand, and I don't understand much,
get there.
YouTube can't stop us from thinking about widespread voter fraud, which may have led to Donald Trump winning the election. So I'd like to take a moment and exercise that remaining right. All right. So we still have that going for us.
Yeah.
Are we
Let's
still
check
up?
it.
Are we still up?
I don't know if we're
we are
still up.
That felt
for now,
good.
still up.
You sure?
I like that.
Some
Yeah.
Minority Report spiders are going to crawl in here in a second.
Watch Good Morning Mug Club live every Monday through Thursday at 10:15 Eastern.